Even with understanding of all three principles for wealth accumulation and financial prosperity, affordability remains a massive obstacle. Insurance companies and insurance marketing organizations have been highlighting for decades that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services consistently reports a 90% tendency to reach age 65 in less than favorable financial circumstances. Aside from lifestyle and the cost of interest on credit, a key contributor is income based taxation. Since 2013, the U.S. Treasury IRS has collected, net of refunds, over $3 trillion a year in income based taxes not required by the actual language of the law. Even a minimum wage earner overpays at least $250,000 unrefunded by the time he or she reaches age 65. This is bad not only for the individual but also for the economy. How can you possibly improve on this situation and overcome the affordability obstacle? The truth is stranger than fiction, but there are two ways. Both are recommended. Act on the government's invitation and formula with guarantees for financial prosperity right now. Start earning an extra 6 figures a year right now. To illustrate how this can be done, how can you propel yourself at 35 miles per hour without a motor? Of course, with a bicycle. A combination of simple machines, namely 2 wheels and axles, plus a compound pulley in the form of a chain linked to combinations of sprockets. And it doesn't hurt to use a downhill slope. By thus utilizing a synergy, this complex combination greatly magnifies what you could otherwise achieve. How can you propel yourself to financial prosperity? With a strategy of employing a vehicle utilizing a combination of all three principles for financial prosperity in combination with several synergies. That is, to accumulate greater wealth than you could achieve on your own, you must capitalize on the rule of 72 and risk avoidance by obtaining the best available interest rates and built-in guarantees against market losses and tax costs. And to accelerate your accumulation of wealth so as to achieve financial prosperity, you must also deliberately exercise your constitutional rights to privacy, contract, and agency so as to comply with the requirements of the actual language of the law and cooperate with the standards of practice relative to the Treasury IRS. By thus utilizing several synergies and also eliminating the affordability obstacle, this complex combination greatly magnifies what you could otherwise achieve. With such a strategy, you will propel yourself to financial prosperity beyond what you may now already enjoy or could otherwise achieve. However, if you also start earning an extra 6 figures a year, you will propel yourself to financial prosperity sooner and with greater security. Consider the reasons you need to start earning $250,000 a year. Thanks to inflation, costs of living and senior health care keep increasing. A couple turning 65 can expect to spend at least $250,000 over the next 20 years just for their share of senior medical costs. And you still need to set aside money to cover the ongoing costs of living during your senior years. Yahoo Finance recently published an article projecting that today's 20-year-old needs to accumulate wealth of more than $7 million. Earning $250,000 a year may sound unbelievable since companies don't generally pay that much for entry-level personnel. Or you may think you are not willing or able to work hard enough to earn that much each year. But you can earn $250,000 a year starting right now. It's not just about working hard. It's about working hard and smart. Whereas individuals are subject to as many as 6 categories of income-based taxation, Legal entities are subject to as many as 7. So company owners are pleased to pay us for service that very significantly reduces their costs, which also instantly boosts their local economies. If you help us advertise, consider that during your first 4 weeks, it takes you 30 minutes to search for a site, set up an account, and post at least 2 new ads on the site. At that rate, you can post 32 new ads per day, 160 per week, and 640 new ads in your first 4 weeks. Consider that beyond your first 4 weeks, since you're more efficient now, it takes you just 20 minutes to search for a site, set up an account, and post at least 2 new ads on the site. At that rate, you can post 48 new ads per day or 192 new ads during the first 4 days each week and send a standard response to each email inquiry. Consider also that beyond your first 4 weeks, it takes you just 5 minutes to log into each account and renew each of at least 2 ads on each site. At that rate, you can renew a week's worth of ads from your first 4 weeks in under 7 hours, or from beyond your first 4 weeks in just 8 hours. Consider that the 320 new ads you post during your first 2 weeks generate just one $2,500 commission, and that the same ads generate a very conservative 4 $2,500 commissions in a year. So that in 25 of the 26 2-week periods per year, your ads generate $250,000. Consider from an alternate perspective that the 160 new ads you post during your first week generate 2 $2,500 commissions, so that in 50 of the 52 weeks per year, your new ads generate $250,000 even before considering additional commissions generated by renewing your ads. Incidentally, in 2010, there were over 18 million businesses in the U.S. The number has since grown to over 32 million, so there is no shortage of business owners to see and respond to your ads. Consider also that as you earn $250,000 a year, you also pay nearly $78,000 a year in income-based taxes, leaving a little over $172,000 a year. And consider that you live on just half of that and invest the other half for your senior years. At that rate, and earning just 3% interest, in 10 years you can accumulate a little over $1 million, and continuing to earn just 3%, enjoy an annual tax-free income of a little over $30,000. In 20 years, those numbers can be over $2 million and over $70,000. In 30 years, you can accumulate over $4 million and enjoy an employment-free lifestyle with a 6-figure annual tax-free income every year for the rest of your life, beginning as early as the end of that 30-year period. Consider that if you also act on the government's invitation and formula with guarantees for financial prosperity, you can redirect your non-refundable nearly $78,000 a year in income-based taxes to your wealth account for your senior years. If you do, and if you invest the entire amount of available funds at just 3%, in 10 years you can accumulate nearly $2 million and enjoy an annual tax-free income of over $57,000. In 20 years, those numbers can be over $4 million and over $134,000. In 30 years, you can accumulate nearly $8 million, those of you who are beyond age 20, and enjoy an employment-free lifestyle with a very healthy 6-figure annual tax-free income every year for the rest of your life, beginning as early as the end of that 30-year period. If you already have a bicycle, it doesn't cost you anything to get on and ride it. In the same way, if you already have a career, or if you also start working with us, whether as a contract advertising agent or as a licensed financial professional, or both. It doesn't cost you anything to get on and ride that bike either. Just as you can propel yourself at 35 miles per hour with a bicycle, you can propel yourself to financial prosperity with your career in combination with the government's formula and guarantees. In the illustration, riding the bicycle represents observing all three principles for financial prosperity in combination. The compound pulley in the form of a chain linked to combinations of sprockets represents best application of the rule of 72, achieved by obtaining the best available interest rates, which makes your wealth grow the fastest. The front wheel and axle represent avoidance of market risk, achieved by obtaining the built-in guarantee against market losses. The rear wheel and axle represent avoidance of tax risk, achieved by obtaining the built-in guarantee against tax costs. The frame of the bike represents either of the only two vehicles in existence for observing all three principles for financial prosperity in combination: the Roth IRA IA and the IUL. Coasting downhill represents incurring no out-of-pocket cost, achieved by diverting income-based tax costs as free funding. So the formula is this: by redirecting your income tax costs, which is free funding, to participate in the growth of the market without the risk of losses to either market downturns or taxes on the gains, starting from age 18 to 22, even at minimum wage, you could generate $100,000 a year or more every year for the rest of your life, beginning as early as age 60 or even 55. Starting later, achieving the goal also takes making up for lost time, so the formula is modified. As illustrated earlier, by redirecting your income-based tax costs from an extra six-figure income, which is free funding, and matching or exceeding the tax costs you redirect, which is out-of-pocket funding, to participate in the growth of the market without the risk of losses to either market downturns or taxes on the gains, you could still generate $100,000 a year or more every year for the rest of your life, beginning as early as age 65 or 70. Visit or revisit strategyforwealth.com to start enhancing your financial prosperity with the government's formula with guarantees. Highlights of the site are the brief intro videos, the Strategic Living video course that explains the synergies, principles, steps, and guarantees for greatly accelerating and enhancing wealth and income. Course supplements, especially the tax and interest spreadsheet workbook you can use to project your own success with strategic living, and the absolutely briefest possible explanations of establishing and maintaining strategic living, the IUL and IUL strategy implementation presentations. Follow the instructions to download, complete, and submit your contract and policy to start earning an extra 6 figures a year right now.